One of the memories from my childhood that left an impact on me is of a day when I was sitting in my grandmother's bedroom and watching visuals of the Babrimasjid demolition on TV. There was a group of men on top of the structure, breaking it down bit by bit with hammers and axes. Even as a little child, the violence in the actions of those men disturbed something in me. I knew that a religious structure was being leveled, but I had no idea why. To my young mind, which at that point had no understanding of politics or religion, this event was as intriguing as it was disturbing. For me, the joy and revelry in the demeanor of those men didn't seem to align with the violence of the act at all. The incident was in the news for days, but what no one had any idea about was just how significant that one event would turn out to be for Indian history and politics in the next few decades. As I record this video today, our country is at the cusp of witnessing the grand inauguration of the Ram Mandir at the same site that the Babrimasjid once stood upon. The site is known as Ram Janmabhoomi, or the birthplace of Lord Ram, the most revered and beloved deity of the Hindus. The site has been the epicenter of religious, political, and legal battles for decades and has sparked riots, violence, and bloodshed. But it has also been the source of faith, devotion, and emotion for millions of people and has been the symbol of the diversity and complexity of the Indian society. In this video, we will explore the history of the Ram Mandir that is being built at the Ram Janmabhoomi and the Babri Masjid that was demolished at the same site in 1992. We will trace the origins and evolution of the dispute over the land and the legal, political, religious, and historical aspects of the issue. We will also examine the Supreme Court's verdict in 2019 that granted the disputed site for the construction of the temple and directed the government to form a trust to oversee this activity, and also to allot a separate land to the Muslims to build a mosque elsewhere in Ayodhya. The Ram Mandir issue is a long-standing dispute over a plot of land in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh, that is claimed by both Hindus and Muslims. In Hinduism, the birthplace of the deity Ram, known as Ram Janmabhoomi, is considered a holy site. This site is often believed to be at the place where the Babri Masjid stood in the city of Ayodhya. There is a rough scholarly consensus that in 1528, following the Mughal conquest of the region, a mosque was built at the site by the Mughal commander Mir Baqi and named the Babri Masjid after the Mughal emperor Babur. Popular belief holds that a temple dedicated to Lord Ram stood at this site and that Baqi demolished it to build the mosque. Archaeological evidence has been found of a structure predating the mosque. This structure has been identified as a Hindu temple, but there has also been speculation that it could have been a Buddhist structure. Muslims contend that the mosque known as the Babri Masjid was a historical and religious monument. The mosque was later destroyed by Hindu activists in 1992, sparking communal riots all across the country. The history of the dispute can be traced back to the 19th century, when the British colonial administration erected a fence to separate the places of worship for Hindus and Muslims. The first legal case was filed in 1885 by a Hindu priest who sought permission to build a canopy over a platform outside the mosque, where Hindus worshipped Lord Ram. The court rejected his plea, but the platform known as the Ram Chabutra became a focal point of Hindu devotion. In 1949, some Hindu activists secretly placed idols of Ram and Sita inside the mosque, claiming that they had miraculously appeared there. The government locked the mosque and declared it a disputed site, but allowed Hindu priests to perform daily rituals for the idols. The dispute gained political momentum in the 1980s when the Vishwa Hindu Parishad (VHP), a Hindu nationalist organization, launched a campaign to build a grand temple for Lord Ram at the site. The Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP), a political party with close ties to the VHP, also supported the cause and made it a part of its electoral agenda. In 1986, a local court ordered the government to open the gates of the mosque and allow Hindus to worship there. This decision angered the Muslims, who formed the Babri Masjid Action Committee to protect their rights. In 1989, the VHP performed a symbolic foundation laying ceremony for the temple at the site, which was challenged by the Muslims in court. The same year, the government acquired the land around the mosque and sought the Supreme Court's opinion on whether a Hindu temple existed there before the mosque. The Supreme Court declined to give an opinion and asked the parties to resolve the issue amicably. In 1990, the BJP leader L.K. Advani embarked on a nationwide Rath Yatra or chariot procession to mobilize support for the temple. The yatra was stopped in Bihar by the then Chief Minister Lalu Prasad Yadav, who arrested Advani. This led to violent clashes between Hindus and Muslims in several states. In Uttar Pradesh, the then Chief Minister Mulayam Singh Yadav ordered the police to fire on the Kar Sevaks or volunteers who tried to storm the mosque, killing several of them. In 1991, the BJP came to power in Uttar Pradesh and vowed to facilitate the construction of the temple. In 1992, the VHP and the BJP organized a large gathering of Kar Sevaks in Ayodhya and announced a symbolic Kar Seva or service at the site. However, the Kar Sevaks defied the security forces and demolished the mosque using axes, hammers, and crowbars. The demolition triggered widespread riots across India, killing more than 2,000 people. The central government dismissed the state government and imposed precedence rule in Uttar Pradesh. It also set up a commission of inquiry under Justice M.S. Liburhan to investigate the incident. The Babrimasjid demolition led to a series of court cases, both civil and criminal, involving various parties. The main civil suit was filed by the Allahabad High Court, which had to decide the ownership of the land and the existence of a temple under the mosque. The court ordered the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, to conduct excavations at the site and submit a report. The ASI report, submitted in 2003, claimed that there was evidence of a massive structure of Hindu origin beneath the mosque, but this was disputed by some archaeologists and historians. The court also examined several witnesses, documents, and oral traditions related to the dispute. In 2010, the court delivered its verdict, dividing the 2.77 acres of land into three parts: one for the deity Ram, represented by the VHP, one for the Sunni Waqf Board, a Muslim trust, and one for the Nirmohi Akhara, which was a Hindu sect. The court also ruled that the mosque was built after demolishing a temple, but not by Babur or his generals. All the parties appealed against the verdict in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court stayed the Allahabad High Court's judgment and began hearing the appeals in 2017. It also attempted to mediate the dispute through a panel of mediators, but the talks failed to reach a consensus. The court heard the arguments of all the parties for 40 days and reserved its judgment on October 16, 2019. On November 9, 2019, the court delivered a unanimous verdict dismissing the claims of the Sunni Waqf Board and the Nirmohi Akhara and granting the entire land to the deity Ram. The court also directed the central government to form a trust to oversee the construction of the temple and to allot a separate 5-acre land to the Sunni Waqf Board to build a mosque elsewhere in Ayodhya. The court based its decision on the balance of probabilities, historical evidence, and faith and belief of the Hindus. The court also condemned the demolition of the mosque as an illegal act and ordered the trial of the accused to be completed within a year. The verdict was welcomed by most of the parties involved, as well as by the political and religious leaders of both the communities. The Sunni Waqf Board accepted the verdict and decided not to file a review petition. The VHP and the BJP hailed the verdict as a victory of truth and justice and a closure of a long-standing dispute. The Nirmohi Akhara expressed dissatisfaction with the verdict but said that they would abide by it. The Congress and other opposition parties also welcomed the verdict and appealed for peace and harmony. The verdict was largely peaceful, with no major incidents of violence or protests reported from any part of the country. The construction of the temple and the mosque is currently underway and is almost on the verge of completion. On 5th February 2020, the central government announced the formation of a trust named Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra to oversee the temple project. The trust comprises 15 members, including religious leaders, bureaucrats, and a representative of the Nirmohi Akhada. The trust was given the authority to decide the design, layout, and timeline for the construction of the temple, as well as to raise funds for it. On 5th August 2020, Prime Minister Narendra Modi performed the Bhumi Pujan or foundation laying ceremony for the temple in the presence of several dignitaries and guests. The ceremony marked the beginning of the construction of the temple. The construction of the mosque is also in progress with the involvement of the Sunni Waqf Board and the Indo-Islamic Cultural Foundation, a trust formed by the board to execute the project. The board has been allocated a 5-acre land in Dhannipur, a village about 25 kilometers away from the disputed site, to build the mosque. The board has also decided to build a hospital, a library, a museum and a community kitchen on the same land along with the mosque. The design of the mosque has been finalized and it will be a modern structure with a capacity of 2,000 people. The Ram Mandir issue has had a profound impact on Indian politics, especially on the rise of the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Hindu nationalist movement. The BJP, which was formed in 1980 as a successor to the Janata Party, adopted the Ram Mandir issue as one of its core agenda items in the late 1980s and mobilized millions of Hindus across the country to support its cause. The BJP leader L.K. Advani's Rath Yatra in 1990, which aimed to galvanize public opinion for the temple, was a turning point in the party's history, as it catapulted it to national prominence and increased its electoral strength. The BJP also forged alliances with other regional and caste-based parties such as the Shiv Sena and the Samajwadi Party to expand its base and challenge the dominance of the Congress Party. The demolition of the Babrimasjid in December 1992 was a watershed moment in Indian politics, as it triggered widespread communal violence and polarized the society along religious lines. The BJP was accused of being responsible for the demolition and was banned by some state governments. The Congress government at the centre also faced severe criticism for its failure to prevent the demolition and maintain law and order. The demolition led to the emergence of new political forces such as the Bahujan Samaj Party, BSP, and the Rashtriya Janata Dal, RJD, which championed the cause of the marginalized and oppressed sections of the society, especially the Dalits and the Muslims. The Ram Mandir issue continued to influence Indian politics in the subsequent years, as various parties and groups tried to use it to gain political mileage and appeal to their respective constituencies. The issue also became a subject of legal battles as several petitions and appeals were filed in various courts, culminating in the Supreme Court's verdict in 2019. The verdict was seen as a historic and landmark judgment as it resolved a long-standing dispute and paved the way for the construction of the temple and the mosque. It was also seen as a political victory for the BJP, which had promised to build the temple in its election manifesto. The BJP, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, won a landslide victory in the 2014 and 2019 general elections and also formed governments in several states, including Uttar Pradesh, where the disputed site is located. The BJP also claimed that the verdict had vindicated its stand and fulfilled the aspirations of the majority of the people. The Ram Mandir issue is one of the most complex and contentious disputes in the history of India, involving legal, political, religious, and historical aspects. It has been a source of communal tension and violence, but has also been a test of the secular and democratic fabric of the country. The resolution of the dispute through the Supreme Court's verdict has been seen as a landmark judgment that has paved the way for a peaceful coexistence and reconciliation of the two communities. The construction of the temple and the mosque is also seen as a symbol of the cultural and religious diversity and harmony of India. This brings us to the end of our video. If you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below and we will answer them as soon as possible. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of our latest uploads.